Welcome to Inner Alchemy with George Stuby, Trauma, Healing and Plant Medicine, the podcast where we explore what it means to heal, grow and transform from the inside out. In these special interview episodes, I sit down with artists, with healers, with visionaries to talk about their personal journeys, the shadows they have faced, and the wisdom they have gathered. From altered states to everyday rituals, these conversations are an invitation to remember who we truly are. I'm George Stuby, a psychologist and musician specializing in the trauma-informed work with plant medicines and with somatic psychology. Welcome to this podcast. I'm really excited for today's episode together with Natan Rabin, who is a visionary musician and facilitator dedicated to creating spaces of embodied expression and blending deep musicality with somatic practices. He invites others to journey inward, using sound as a tool for expression and transformation. And his work weaves together music theory, sound, and self-inquiry, allowing people to drop deeper into their inner worlds, unlocking creativity, presence, and healing. And through his teachings, he empowers individuals to transmute emotions, break free from limitations, and experience music as a profound embodied force of connection and self-discovery. So welcome to today's episode, Natan.
Thank you so much, George. It's a pleasure to be here and speak with you.
Wonderful. And from working with you as a guitar student and also from reading your bio now, I really love this blend out of music and somatic work, music and somatic healing. Could you tell me a bit more about that, like what it means to you and how you apply it for yourself and also with people you work with?
I come from the music, but as over the years, I've come to realize that this excitement, tension that we feel in the body when we are playing music, even, for beginners, perhaps they feel all this tension in the body all the time, even when they sit by themselves. And especially later on, if you get to a point where you are going to play in front of your friends or in front of an audience or in a circle, in a ceremony, anything like that, there is a lot of tension that can rise and feeling excitement or nervousness. There was a point when I became aware that I could refer to what I feel somatically in my body as I'm nervous or I'm excited. And it would be the same somatic experience, but already a shift in perspective. But anyways, for me, it then became clear that some somatic work, some sounds or some shaking, it can be very subtle, of course. You don't have to, if you're on stage and you're playing in front of people, maybe you don't want to go full in and shake your body and but maybe take a deep breath and it helps you to discharge some of the tension in the body. So this is how that was my connection point that then led me on to discover more somatic healing on myself. A lot of breath work, a lot of shaking, a lot of beating a pillow in the clinic, with my therapist that I saw at the time. And this combination really helps a lot. Both, it supports the music because you feel more relaxed in your body. You are discharging the tension. You are more available for your musicality.
Yes.
And music itself is a trigger for many, many things that come up, and then you can release them through your sound, and a lot of the voice work that I do with people is, first of all, to discharge this tension that many people have here or here, by through releasing sound.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And like, yeah, what I hear you share, that your entryway into the somatic work was to discover that somatic tools can be really helpful to release like the tension that you might have felt like before playing in front of people. And then through that, like realizing, oh, there's way more to that. There's way more to the somatic work, and I can actually also use it to heal past impressions of any kind of form.
Yes, I've done things like rebirthing long time ago, and maybe that was even before that was like an entry into this world. But yeah, the somatic release came to me as a tool to support me because I was performing on stage or playing in ceremony, and you find yourself like unable to relax at sometimes. And this tension, this excitement doesn't pass just because you are getting, yes, with time, more and more experience and doing it again and again helps, but still there will be this excitement. And you have to, and then I learned how to manage, how to discharge some of this
Yeah.
tension so I can feel more relaxed in my body faster.
Yeah, makes so much sense to me. Beautiful. And you mentioned that you also did like somatic work with a therapist. And I'm curious, like if you're open to share a bit, like what kind of inner challenges or shadows you had to face along your journey, along your own way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, where to begin? I mean, where to begin in the story, or like in the spiral? So I'll take you to my latest realizations, because the past few years is where like things started to land and become more and more clear.
Yeah.
So obviously I've been dealing with what I've been dealing my whole life, but then in the past few years things have really started to land and become more clear, as I said. So a very common thing, a mother wound. My mother is amazing. She really, really loves me, and she had done her best at being a mother. And still, I've discovered that I have a deep wound there. So for me, I have a brother and a sister. And yeah, I don't remember, and I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming and I'm feeling, and I felt into it also somatically in some of my processes, in some of my journeys. I felt that there was strong abandonment feeling when my younger brother was born. And
Yeah.
I had a younger brother all of a sudden. I was 2.5 years old then. So I was still a baby. And that abandonment wound, and then becoming like being an older brother, having to be like an example, to always be perfect, all of these things that you can assume how all of these things are coming into manifestation. All my life, I felt like I needed to be perfect and to, you know, uh, please my environment, which made me a very rebellious teenager. I was doing many, many things. So I started my process very young, very early on. Like I was rebelling a lot as a teenager and in my early 20s. And yeah, in the last few years, I came to the realization that I was not loving myself sufficiently. Yeah, the self-love within me was not a consistent process. So I have some kind of hole where the self-love leaks out, and to fill up the feeling of missing, I seek validation from outside.
Mm.
This sort of this is like the big picture, there is
Yeah.
many, many things that we could
Oh.
talk about more in detail, but basically that was like that. big, strong realization came between May of 23 and September 23. That was like the ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. There was a strong opening, strong experiences, also strong psychedelic experiences in my relationship that brought a lot of that confronted me with these things, and everything was burst open. And then process to get closer, give love, understand, like research what's going on there, what was going on there, ask many questions, go to therapy, emotional release, talking about things. Yeah, if you want to guide me more
Thank you so
specifically
much,
into
first of
something
all.
there, feel free.
Yeah, thank you so much, first of all, to bringing all of this in and to sharing about this. And I think it's really important. Well, so-called mother wound is for sure also one of my deepest insights I had so far, like to work with that. Yeah, I reflected on this with my therapist when we closed like our work together. I reflected back to her that the sessions where she kind of gently pushed me into this direction were like the most challenging sessions, and also the aftermath of it. And she shared with me, yeah, it's like something that a lot of therapists are a bit uncomfortable to work with because it can be so intense. But at the end, everyone has to work with that. It's like really like profound and deep things. Yeah, I can totally relate to what you shared, and I also discovered that there's this part with me that didn't feel seen and didn't feel safe through that, and that I created many situations later in my life to get that, to feel seen and to be seen. Of course, playing music on stages is a great way for that. And at this point, I'm curious to ask you, like, there's just it's an observation of mine, and also having worked, with a lot of successful people, also successful artists, that almost everyone who becomes really successful at the beginning has like a wound that's driving him. For example, to be seen or to become very famous or to become really successful in something. I feel it's changing more and more because like more and more people make these transformations very early in their lives. But yeah, I mean, when we talk about music and playing music, and the core intention is like, I'm doing it to feel seen and to cope with something or to cover something up. My feeling, that's kind of taking away from the power of the music or the purity of the music. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, first of all, I feel that music has power, like, period, full stop there. And of course, we can really feel if someone is making music through a place that's vulnerable, for example, through a place that dares to sort of, own their process, their shadow, if someone is integrating their wounds and doing the work on themselves, then you feel it. And there are amazing musicians that I don't know. I don't know them personally, and I really like their music, but I doubt that they're doing this kind of work. I'm sure they have a lot going on inside of them, but still they make amazing music that impacts the world and that has a significant meaning in the world. And yeah, I mean, I'm here to support people in discovering and unlocking their musicality, developing their musicality. Sometimes it's like musicality is something to develop, it's something to practice, it's something to work on for years. And yeah, I see a great correlation between doing the work on yourself and being able to actually like overcome difficulties and challenges in your music, in developing your musicality.
Yeah.
Like that went hand in hand for me, you know, that really went hand in hand for me. And I can very clearly see it in my reality that the more I do my work internally, the more music is becoming a better, our relationship strengthen, you know, and the impact that it might have on the listener becomes more profound. At least the impact that it has on me, and how it feels as a wholesome experience.
Amazing. And that's also something I wanted to ask you, like when you shared about these bigger realizations, like about 2 years ago, if and how it changed like your own music.
Yeah, it changed me and it changed my music. It didn't change, I don't think it changed the essence of my music.
Mm-hmm.
I think it brought me into a new place of like working on myself a little bit from a more, I shared with you this concept of the ninja, no, the ninja and the artist. So previous to this shadow work eruption in my life, I was very much in my artist, in the flow, very watery, very like following inspiration and seeking inspiration and so on. And that brought into my life what I'm still having to cultivate all the time, uh, which is discipline. The discipline to like, okay, this is the path. I have many, I play different instruments, and each one of them is, you know, another world. But okay, the
Yes.
guitar, let's say, the guitar, this is the path. Let's walk, you know, let's not stay and be like, oh, I'm good here because I can play beautifully related to myself. No, there is an opportunity to grow through practice and through discipline. And that changed many things for me. My technique got better. It changed. I started learning and practicing some flamenco techniques in the last year. And slowly, because I'm not that available to do it as I'm super busy, but I kind of see it as like, every year there is a period of time where I go to school again. You know, I put my practices in my schedule, and I'm practicing every day, and I'm working on my technique, and I'm going into this ninja mode where you just do, repeat to improve your technique, and that changes the way that it changed the way that I play. So evolving in this side, discovering how to use my masculine force in a constructive way, basically.
Yeah, it sounds like in a mature way as well. Like maturity and like, as you said, discipline, dedication, structure in an empowering way and not in a constricting way. Mm.
Yeah, exactly.
That.
My phone password used to be devotion. Like 2 years ago, it became devotion. It was devotion for a year, and then it became practice. So now it's to unlock my phone, I have to type the word practice.
The first person who shares this with me, and yeah, I think it's a pretty genius way to like have it as a kind of a mantra. You always come back to like, okay, practice.
Yeah, practice or devotion or abundance, whatever you are calling in, yeah?
And I think what you share is so powerful, and like one concept that really changed my life in that regards is like the concept of compounding effects and how small things are adding up over time in an exponential way. And at the beginning, you don't see a lot of difference after a few, maybe weeks, or latest month, it's like incredible how much, for example, your technique can improve, or like any skill that you're practicing, even so it's maybe only quote unquote 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day.
Yeah, I always say to anyone that come to me for guitar lessons or for any advice on music or really anything, that yeah, just do even 5 minutes a day, or even 5 minutes 3 times a week will have a compounding effect
Yeah.
exponentially.
Yeah, it's such
It
a
will take
powerful.
longer, but it will happen.
Exactly. Wonderful. And you also mentioned psychedelics earlier when you talked about like, the time where these deeper wounds came up. I'm curious to hear more about like how psychedelics, plant medicine, what kind of role they played on your path, on your journey.
I was very curious from a very young age to. I was literally curious to lose my, in a way, to lose control, to lose, not to lose my mind in like that can sound bad, but to ease my mind. Okay, I was practicing yoga at a very young age, like 16. I was practicing yoga quite intensely, and I got this peak. I could peek into the realm of being, a state of being and presence. And in my early 20s, I became very, very curious about plant medicine. I never really did any chemical drugs, only MDMA really on a therapeutic, as a form of therapy.
Yeah.
I became very, very curious at a very young age about plant medicine. And I've tried I've tried many things, and I've started to find my path, to walk my path, that keeps on happening. Yeah, I'm walking this path still, and learning from plants a lot. And yeah, I mean, yeah, some experiences were really, really supportive for me to open up and share my voice in ceremony, which is something that I was not really able at a young age to use my musical skill just how I wanted, or however I wanted. It was quite difficult for me always to put myself, take space, and to put myself in the front and say, okay, I'm going to sing a song now, or I will perform a concert, or anything like that. I could be on stage as part of a band or accompanying someone, which is something that I did always in my life at school and so on, but not to take the center, not to take space. And yeah, and circles of plant medicine and seeing everyone so humbly sharing and taking space really, really supported me. That and the medicine itself, the surrendering and opening the heart allowed me to be more and more vulnerable and to share. And later on, also some experiences were very, very meaningful for me to go deeper and go through the barriers of the ego and open up those boxes that traumatic feelings are stored in. Family constellations, family healing, also like a lot of that as well.
And have you ever like explored like the combination out of psychedelics and the somatic work? And for example, using somatic work for integration afterwards?
Well, I don't know in this context what you mean by somatic work exactly, but I can say that breath work, before and after ceremonies, yes, definitely. movement, just free dancing, shaking, making sound. Yes, before and after. Being active, like being in the jungle and just doing stuff, after as well. Just being active, just being in the physical body
Yeah,
and like, I don't know,
beautiful.
like just like fixing something, planting some things in the garden
Yeah.
or doing something, doing some carpentry and stuff like that. Yeah.
Nice. So really doing things that are very physical.
Yes, yes, allowing the mind to, not to come back online immediately.
Yes.
When you activate the body, are in, even if I'm like now doing something with my hands, I'm in a state of being rather than in state, the opposite of that would be to open my phone, to go over my emails, to have a work call or stuff like this that just activates your mind online and available again to whatever other people need from me versus staying attuned to myself, being present in my body. If it's shaking, breathing, dancing, working, walking, meditating, yoga, yes, that's always a priority for me.
So beautiful. Yeah, in my experience, also like the somatic like therapy styles, like somatic experiencing or internal family systems, or the work of Gabor Mate, passionate inquiry. All of that can be extremely powerful as well to get into the body and actually like to slow down and to get really present with what kind of emotions are there, what kind of sensations, what kind of beliefs, all those deeper layers.
Yeah, so it's funny that you are mentioning, or it's not funny, it's not even coincidental, but it's interesting that you're mentioning Gabor's work because he had a significant impact on me around this time 2 years ago when everything kind of opened up for me and started, and many things came to the surface, from the shadow into the surface. And it was, I just basically started listening to podcasts of him speaking about child development and trauma and so on. And I really resonated. And I was in Brazil at the time, working there with plant medicine, and had some very, very strong journeys, very, very strong healing. And then Gabor's words were there to sort of give me a lot of context,
Yes.
He was not there physically with me, but his words, his work gave me a lot of context in which I could really then embrace it all. Like really like, okay, so that's what's happening. That's what it is. I probably have this and this wounding from my childhood, because I can remember that I always had this and these feelings. And now plant medicine is allowing me is giving me access to those feelings and to these memories again. And now I had context, and I just went to work from this. It was really powerful.
Guided a ceremony, like a private ceremony for two best friends. Like it was about 2 years ago, and one of them is like the programmer of like a location in London. And soon after that ceremony, they had an event with Gabor Mate, which was, he invited me to come and to join. And it was a quite pricey event, so it was a big gift actually to just be able to show up there. And they first had like talks. The first day was also some other speakers, and on the second day there was like a 5-6 hour session with like 50 people, and he was like actually working with the people in the room. And yeah, that like witnessing that, and also like asking him a few questions, and then also like somebody in the audience asking him like what kind of therapy he's recommending, what kind of modalities, really changed my life, because then afterwards I started to work with the therapist I touched on earlier, and she worked with those methods. And she also had a lot of experience with plant medicine and then combining the somatic psychology work with the plant medicine and of course with music. It really changed my life, and also in a professional way really set me up for what I'm doing nowadays of combining music and somatic psychology and plant medicine. But I'm doing the longer education with Gabor at the moment, so I'm very exposed to his teachings, and it's really powerful stuff. So yeah, highly recommend to everyone who's listening to check out his work, books and podcasts. And
yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah, he's a meaningful character in the world, I think. I appreciate him a lot.
Yes.
From different angles as well. Yeah. Inspired by you, I checked out the program Compassion Inquiry.
Yeah.
And I think I might go for it next year, or
Do
not
it.
next
It's
year,
really fantastic.
this September. Yeah, I think so.
I'm looking forward to exchange on that with you.
Yeah. Are you still on that, or you are doing something else now?
I started in February, so like I'm in like halfway through now with the first year. Beautiful. Actually curious to ask you if you have ever like explored like the mystical stream in like Jewish traditions or Jewish religions.
I've not like put myself into it and like studied, but I feel a strong connection to the language and to the ancient prayers. Yeah, I have a strong connection to my Hebrew roots. Yeah, and to the language especially. I would be interested and curious to learn more about the Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, and so on. But I guess I haven't found, like, my path hasn't, like, led me there fully.
No, yeah.
But from time to time, it will, like, burst out of me, like, some prayers that I sing many songs in Hebrew.
Yes.
And some of them ancient prayers I sing as well sometimes. And in medicine ceremonies, it's very, very, very special.
It is, yeah.
And it would come from time to time and like come out of me.
Beautiful. Yeah, I just guided a private ceremony with a client last weekend, and he has a Jewish background, and he explained a few things for me. For example, that the ancient Jewish calendar is like a moon calendar, and it's really connected to the moon phases. And with that the days are actually starting in the night. And for example, also that traditionally you close the Shabbat with like incense. I found actually like a lot of commonalities to how I experienced certain plant medicine ceremonies, or like teachers also like really focusing on like the moon and the moon phases, obviously using certain incense at certain moments in the ceremony. And I found out that there seems to be a lot of touch points in a way.
Yeah, so I think all religions have a deep and profound connection to source in
Yes.
the essence of it. And Judaism, yeah, definitely the prayer, gratitude, lighting a candle. And one of the most profound things that I know of is really the language. The language has so much coding into it. It's very, very, very profound. It's quite remarkable. Well, sometimes when somebody would point out like these small things that the meaning of this word or the root of this word is this or that. For example, the word, a brother shared it with me a few weeks ago. The word, that, of course I know it, but like bringing it up to the memory, the word male is the same word, the same letters as remembered. If you say the word he remembered, you might as well have said he is a male. So that's something that is there to remind us. It's like it's a note for us to remember. Our work is whoever finds themselves in a male body or whatever, that the masculine part within each one of us has to remember, right?
Yeah.
Because we forgot a lot. And many of these things, and I'm just scraping the surface, really.
Yeah.
You have to interview somebody else if you want to hear more about Jewish mysticism or the Hebrew language. For sure, I could recommend a few people to speak to about that. Definitely.
As a last question, I would love to ask you, like, if your music, your work could leave like a message behind after you're gone, what would that be?
Say shortly that my message with my music and my message in generally, I have just one message really, and it's faith, belief in love, not relational. I'm not talking about relational love as like this is what that's part of it, but love as a force, love as a force that we can do our work to get to a state where we can love ourselves fully, where we can embrace and accept and love our parents, for example, despite whatever they've done for us or whatever they haven't done for us. Love our enemies, forgiveness, and ultimately harmony and peace. That's this is my prayer. My prayer is for harmony and for peace. Through the faith and the belief in love as a force that can support us in the journey through our work, through our wounds, through our pain, our anger, to eventually allow those things to be processed and eventually come back to love, come back to the heart, come back to love. And so ultimately we can cultivate more and more harmony and peace in this world and perhaps beyond this
combination. And if people want to find more of your music, your work, like, can you direct them to a place?
Absolutely, yes. So you can find my music on all the streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. You can search Natan Rabin, Natan without H.
Yeah.
Just Natan Rabin. And you can find my music everywhere.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Natan, for this beautiful conversation.
Yeah. Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining me on Inner Alchemy. If today's session resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone who might benefit. To explore more or work with me, you can visit my website, Stuby, Stuby.com, or you can find me also on Instagram as I am George Stuby. And yeah, until next time, may you stay present and embodied and in flow, and sending you much love.